Hello, my people. Welcome to the Young and Sane podcast with Tamarflourish. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wheresoever you're watching me from, whatsoever time, all right? So, yes, welcome to the Young and Sane podcast once again. I especially want to apologize to the Spotify audience because last week's episode was not promptly uploaded on Friday, and it was due to very, I call it minor or something, a technical difficulty. All right, so we couldn't upload it on Spotify just immediately, and but now it's up. All right, it's up, and I'm so sorry that you guys were not denied, but you couldn't have access to last week's episode. But yeah, today we are here. It's another Friday, the 6th of December, right? And I'm excited to be here. It's giving December vibes and all, and you know now. It's just a lot of the season is upon us, and the year is about to wrap up, and everybody's just going back and forth and all of that. So I want to wish you a happy December, all right? I know you guys have gotten all into the mood and stuff. So happy December and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. Don't postpone your enjoyment to the 25th or you know New Year Eve. And just start enjoying yourself, all right? Live your life fully, but don't eat rubbish. Don't eat poison. Don't kill yourself. Don't do. Yeah, let me stop it with my advice for the year. But all right, welcome. If you're new to this episode, to this podcast, yeah, welcome. Please share with others. All right, we want to create a community of young and sane people. So let's share the podcast. Let's invite more people. Let's keep the conversation going. And also, I would love to see the comments. All right, on each episode that I drop, I would love to see the comments. What do you think? And all of that. So, yeah, let's get into today's topic. And I know you guys are particularly interested in today's topic because we are going to be talking about men. But then, how did we switch from talking about inner child wounds to talking about men? Maybe there's no bogus explanation, maybe there's no, true reason, but this is the Young and Sane podcast, and if you started with us or if you're just joining us, the Young and Sane podcast is a safe space where we talk about the issues that make us, that try to give us insanity in this place. But because we are young people and sane people, we just come to talk about it. All right, everything that tries to make us insane. And of course, trauma is one of those things. And of course, who are the people that carry this trauma? Men and women. And I promise you, you have to like listen. It's going to be like a series, all right, about men, about women. There's going to be a part two next week, and another part about women, and of course, just like that. So you don't want to miss this special podcast episodes in the Young and Sane podcast. So of course, men are one of the components of society, one of the pillars of society, not just components, but pillars of society. And so we are obviously going to talk about them in the Young and Sane podcast because they matter, right? So yeah, let's get into what we have for today. So today we are going to be talking about men, right? When we're talking about men, who are men, and I want to lay this foundation. I just want to put that this out there. Now, I've not gone about experiencing all types of men, right? I've not gone about experiencing all types of men, but I've had should I say quite a handful? Maybe not, because not everybody I've come across have had some kind of access to my life, and most likely must have watched them from the sidelines and not really let them, have access to my life. But I've come across quite a handful, and so I'm going to be integrating those little experiences, right? My experiences may be 1% of what I'm talking about. Now I'm talking about men from the context of God's creation, first of all, and then I'm talking about men from the context of foundational icons of society, second of all, and I'm going to be talking about men based on the research, right? What a lot of people are saying about men, what people have studied about men, all right? So, proven theories, proven talk, just a lot of things about men. That's what we're going to be distilling and talking about in this episode, this two-part series, I guess, of talking about men. So, yes, today let's just focus on just about me. So I just wanted to lay that out there so that you don't begin to think that this girl thinks that she knows everything. No, no, no. I don't know everything about men. I just know a lot. I happen to know a lot about men, and it's because I've studied about them. It's because I've watched, right? I've experienced some of them, right? Yeah, so all of these things I've studied and I've experienced some of them. So, who are men? Men are the male versions of humanity. I don't know why I said male versions of humanity. Well, someone that is described as a man is someone that is a male version of, say, an adult. Um, a man is a male adult, simply put, right? And of course, I said we're going to refer to scriptures, right? And from scriptures, we can see the way that God made Adam, and even looking at the Bible stories, looking at the way um, men, the position that men held in society in the days of the Bible, the days recorded in the Bible. You see how men were the foundation of their society, all right? And in the context of Adam, Adam was made, all right, before God now thought about making a woman human, right? And he made a woman from Adam, from the man. So this just goes to show that men are the foundation of society, right? Um, and and in I think when I think about creation, right, I think the fact that God created men first and he created woman out of the man was, it shows me something that okay, these men are the foundation of society, right? And the woman that I created out of the man, he has a responsibility to nurture, to protect, to provide, and all of that. That is something that is very foundational in the institution of marriage, all right? So men solely, you know, are men because God made them men, and He made them men so that for the purpose of, you know, being in charge, all right, being in leadership and leading not just a woman, but of course, as foundations of society, leading a society, right? And I think there's a way that the feminist movement has made manhood to look like, because obviously it seems like the purpose of man became corrupted as sin began to evolve, as sin entered the world and it began to evolve. It got to a point where instead of men to now protect women, they began to look at them like less humans. They began to um put them under subjugation, subdue them, control them. But in the dominion mandate, even in Genesis, God told the instruction to subdue the earth was not to the man over the woman. No, he said subdue the earth. And that was an instruction to both the man and the woman, right? So they were not supposed to subdue each other, but to subdue the earth and not each other. And so because sin began to evolve and corruption began to multiply and accelerate at a very dangerous, nasty level, a lot of things became misconstrued. You know, a lot of the purpose for creating man, a lot of people started corrupting it, right? Became corrupted. And so that's part of the reason why I think the feminist movement came out to correct that. Um, a lot of times when I discuss with people about the feminist movement, I'm not a feminist, but um, if we take it back to when the feminist movement came up, it was basically to just fight for the rights of women who have been become treated as slaves, um, treated as less than humans, and all of those things. That was not the intention of God. So I feel like the feminist movement, as at then, was focused on these areas, ensuring that men and women had fair human equal human rights, okay, but not as per um you know ensuring that a woman can also perform the exact and same functions of a man in society, or carry on with their take up men's responsibility or take up their place. No, I don't think that was what the feminist movement of the early stages intended. But yes, and that's the reason why a lot of us don't identify as feminists. But I made that digression just to point out something. Now, the feminist movement came about to correct the corruption of humanity, which um started making a woman become a slave, subjugating her and all of that, making her less than a human, right? And the feminist movement too became corrupted. So you see, as everything comes out with a good intention, you know, there now follows a corruption of that intention, of that purpose. And so a lot of things just begin to go haywire. So in this case, I think the feminist movement has become so corrupted that women see themselves as this exactly the same as a man. And I don't believe that that's true. All right. We're going to go into we're not talking about women today, we're just focused on men. Now, based on this, based on the corruption that ensued, the corruption of the purpose, the original purpose, um, and the original responsibility and the original function of a man in society to lead, to protect, to exercise leadership, to nurture, you know, women and everything that's been committed into a man's hands, to nurture it and to care for it and take care of it. Because of that corruption, because of the distortion of that purpose, that responsibility, that role, that function, society began to crumble. And that's just the truth. And now society is more insane than it has ever been. And will it keep getting more insane? Most likely, yes, it's going to get worse. It's going to get more terrible. But there is a need to call up men once again to take up their position. Let's go back to the blueprints. How was it supposed to be? How what was it from the very beginning? That God intended with making humanity have the male version and the female version? What was it that God intended that the male humans would fulfill? What was their purpose? And then, going back to the basis, going back to the foundation, what was it that God intended? What was it that the creator intended, right? And so we have to go back because we need to take back our society. We need to make it sane. And it may be a failed attempt, but if you, as an individual listening to this podcast, you seek to become a sane individual, all right? Because if you're not sane, you're insane. If you're not following the blueprint, if you're not following the original purpose, you are insane. It's as simple as that. If you're not sane, you are insane. And what does it mean to be sane? To be doing the correct thing, the norm, the original norm, how it's supposed to be. But if you're turning the norm, if you're making the original norm to become abnormal, and you're now taking what is not the norm to be the norm, you are insane. That's just the truth. All right. So this is a call to men to take up their place once again. Let's go back to the original plan. Let's go back to the original intention. Let's go back to the original blueprint and find out what was intended. What are we supposed to do, right? Okay. So now we have a lot of men traumatized. We just finished the inner child series, right? So a lot of men are still boys, wounded baby boys at heart, and they are moving on with their life. And what are they doing? They are wounding others. They are hurting other people. They are hurting other men. They are hurting other women. And the society is just disintegrating the more and more, and everybody's getting more and more insane. All right. So that's what is happening now. But if men would arise to deal with their damage, first of all, you will see how a lot of healing will skyrocket in the society. Now, if you go to any institution, I just want you to think about this. If you go to any institution where the leaders, the male figures in those institutions are okay, are sane individuals, right? And you see that they are actually people that are healed, okay, you see the difference in how they lead. You will see the difference in how they communicate with their followers. You will just see a lot of good, you just see a lot of difference, right, with what you would think is the norm in an organization where the leader is carrying a baggage of trauma. I just want you to picture it in your mind. And you see that when the foundation is made right, it will flow to other parts. All right. So that's what's going to happen when men take up the lead to go back to the blueprint and then also try to find healing from the kinds of trauma, the inner child wounds that they've been carrying for so long. Okay. So men, because they're the foundation of society, they need to now become accountable, you know, for the leadership that God gave them from the very beginning. But then, because our world is insane, people are just going about playing the blame game. So it was because my father hurt me. When men behave in certain ways, they go back to say it was because this so and those happened in my life. That is why I'm like this. So it's like playing the blame game, and it's not going to get better if we keep playing the blame game. Just like Adam, he started the blame game, right? He was supposed to take responsibility for his action, for disobeying God. Rather, he now turned. Of course, his wife, fed him to eat, but he had a choice to say no. All right. So there was no reason why he was supposed to blame his wife because she didn't force it on him. She told him, and he could have said no, but rather decided to play the blame game. And if he took responsibility, maybe things would have turned out a little bit differently from what it is now. But yes, let's not play that blame game that Adam played. He's saying it is the wife, and then Eve now said it was the serpent, and the serpent had no one to blame because he actually knew what he was doing. So let's take responsibility for our actions, all right? And men, because look at it too, it is from the men that the sperm that is used to form a human being, a full-blown human being, is gotten from. I don't care whether the mother did surrogacy. I don't care whether she's a single mother. I don't care whether it was IVF. There was a need for a sperm, right? To fertilize that egg that came from a woman. What does he also go to say? He also goes to say that men are the foundation because they have. I'm sorry, I'm talking wrong in this podcast. If you're not comfortable with what I'm saying, I'm so sorry about that. But it is what it is. I don't know what should I call it. It's called the sperm. When we go to biology class, we call it the sperm, right? There's no other cute word we can use. So I don't know why we try to shy away from the exact words that these things are called. But yeah, so a man has the sperm, and if that sperm is not present to fertilize the egg, a human is never going to be formed. And the truth about trauma is trauma is stored in your body, is stored in your nervous system, and somehow can find its way to every part of you. And so if a man has trauma and he doesn't become transformed, he doesn't renew um himself through the path of healing, right? He's going to transfer it. This is how we have intergenerational trauma. So my father used to be a very angry man, and now I am angry. I took it from my father. So you see how that goes to play out, right? So whatever is not transformed is going to be transferred. And men are the bane of society, they are the foundations of society. Without the sperm in their loins, a child cannot be formed, right? And so it's the reason why we need to, because if we just keep not taking accountability, the next generation and the next generation is going to get worse and it's going to suffer, right, the consequences of this evolving corruption. Now, until men take their place, take responsibility and not try to shift the blame, of to others, and instead pursue healing, then it's going to rub off of society. Naturally, it's going to do that. And until they do that, until they take their place to mend, and heal, will always have um situation just slipping through and coming worse and worse and worse. So we're now in a generation where we see a lot of people are fatherless. And what does it cause? It causes identity crisis. It causes identity confusion, because when you do not know your source, you're not going to have a reference for who you are, right? That question of who you are will, you won't have an answer for that question. You will not be able to answer that question, and to lead to an identity crisis, identity confusion, a whole lot of things. So I think I was watching. I've seen a few videos where some researchers tried to do something, and then those people that you know transgender or queer or all of those things, like the L I don't know how to pronounce that, LGBTQ plus, LGBTQA plus, right? Is that what it is now? Guys, I don't really know how to pronounce that incorrectly. But yeah, he asked some questions, and um the question that was put to those people was, do you know your father? And a lot of them said they do not have good relationships with their father, right? I know that maybe this is a percentage of the people that suffer from this identity, crisis and confusion, do not have a father figure to whom they look to whom they derive their, to whom is their source of identity, their reference point, for life and living. And so a lot of them fall into this shithole of identity confusion and crisis. But there's also this other percentage that um I've also read comments and seen a lot of things about people who had probably present fathers and all of those. We don't really know the full story, but they had present fathers. They had fathers, but still decided. But I think this other percentage of people that had fathers and decided to do what they are doing, they are just few compared to um the other percentage who suffered from absentee fathers and all of those things. And so it's just a call, right? Because our generation, it seems like a lot of people are becoming the more and more fatherless. There is less of fathers and just more of mothers, and even sometimes mothers are absent too, but it's just more on the father side. A lot of children that do not know their fathers, cannot identify their fathers, or had absentee fathers, or had very irresponsible fathers. And so it's just a lot. This is like the most fatherless generation where men just go about sowing seeds, you know, just giving out their sperms to whatever kind of woman, whatever kind of thing, and nobody's bothered about raising those seeds, right? When they eventually come to life. Um and it's just the norm now, right? It's just the norm. A lot of people, they're just so ashamed of very irresponsible to raise the seeds that they plant. All right. So it's just very terrible. Now, another part that we're going to find very difficult is the issue of vulnerability. Men have not shown themselves to be people that can be vulnerable, and it's as a result of a lot of factors. We're going to highlight just a few of them. And so, in healing, in mending, in getting back to become the icons that they are supposed to be, in the journey of transformation and healing, there is a need for vulnerability. It's something that cannot be done away with. But you know why men find it difficult to mend? Why men find it difficult to heal? Is because a lot of them don't know how to be vulnerable. And a lot of times when I talk about vulnerability, I blame it on society because there is a version, there is an ideal version of a man that society has popped out over the time that has affected the way men view vulnerability. And so now vulnerability um is something that men should not have because it makes them look weak. It makes them, not have those strong. Society is always saying you have to, for to be a man, you have to be strong and all of that. A lot of people define manhood as being strong and all of that. Yes, they're the foundation of society, but they are still humans first of all, and they go through human experiences. And one of the human experiences is limitation, fragility, failures, and all of those. So they do not, when men are not given the permission to have an outlet, let to express themselves, to express their feelings of hurt, of failures, of disappointment, of all of those things, when they are not given the permission to express these feelings, and only permission they've been given is to express all their feelings in just one emotion, which is anger, then the issue of vulnerability will just be out the window, and it's already out the window, right? And so, but for men to heal, they need to become vulnerable. So, vulnerability is just a thing, and I think men, some men are rising. Yeah, I've seen a few of them, and I know that it's just a matter of time, you know, and a lot of men begin to find out that vulnerability is not weakness actually, as society has defined it over time, but it is a superpower right now. And so there's also the need for having a relationship with God, because if you have no reference to your source, to the one who made male and female, right? So the one who created male, made humans male, and made other humans female. He knows why he did so. He is the reference for how the male version of humanity is supposed to behave. He is the reference for their identity, for their purpose, for everything that pertains to them. And so having a relationship with God is very key in the issue of mending. And in this day and age, we have a lot of men that do not believe in God, that do not think that believing in God is rational or logical. And it's so sad to see that. And then there are a few who believe in God, but they're like, you guys are doing a little bit too much, because what's all these things about obeying commandment? Like, it's just a lot. And then when you go to church and you even find the people that that have a relationship with God, they have not gotten into this part of intimacy with Him, where their whole weaknesses and limitations are kind of swallowed up, right? And there's this bit of self sufficiency that is still living. And so it now results to a lot of terrible things happening in the church and happening by church brothers, right? You know, impregnating ladies in church, just moving around and doing a lot of things that because they do not see any immediate consequence, or they do not see any physical consequence, it just reinforces their habit over and over again. And so relationship with God is very important, right? For men. So I just try to lay the foundation of who men are in society, and what you know the what is supposed to look like, who men truly are in society, right? And what they were actually made to be. So we saw from the perspective of the Bible, and we try to compare it with what we have today, and it's just a terrible contradiction that a lot of things that happen are not actually the ideal thing. But today is not the day of talking about the ideal man. We're going to talk about the ideal man in the next episode. I just highlighted a few things about men. Um, there's a poem, or would I say, a spoken word that was delivered in a TEDx conference by this guy called Smith. What's that his name now? Um, Sean Smith. Yeah, Sean Smith is his name, and he wrote a long poem. I think maybe, just maybe, you may be able to listen to the poem, or I don't know. Maybe I'll just distill most of the points he talked about in the poem. And so today I want to focus on the issue of um the narrative that society has pushed about who a real man is, and is this true about a real man? That number one, from his poem, he said that he talked about some things, and um I'm just going to highlight the major points that he, used to refer to a real man according to society. Number one, that a real man is a warrior with superpowers that can do any and everything. Just he has no limitations, he's not weak, he's very strong, he and ambitious. He is driven by the need to feel celebrated, visible, appreciated, significant, to matter, and to be desired. So that a real man is always strong and ambitious. Then that a real man should be brave and powerful. And in the poem, the way he highlighted it was sometimes this brave and powerful version of a man is driven by the fear of rejection. Rejected by, doesn't want to be rejected by women, basically. Another thing he talked about, um, might, right? I call it meat. Um, some things he talked about, I call them myths of what a real man should look like. Um, I mentioned superpower, a man with superpower who is a warrior. The second thing I mentioned was a man who is strong and ambitious is a real man. A man who is brave and powerful. But then this being brave and powerful is driven by the fact that he does not want to be rejected. Is what society has called a real man. Another myth is that he's tough and perfect with some manly ego. So if he does not have ego, he's not a perfect man. But he has to have ego and be very tough. Another thing is that he shouldn't be gentle, nice, or humble. He should be proud and not gentle. And another thing is that he should be unemotional and never vulnerable, open, honest. So shouldn't be um gentle or nice or humble. Another thing is that a man should be unemotional. He should be strong to the point that he is unable, or he shouldn't show his emotions, and that's one of the definitions of being strong. Never vulnerable, not open, honest, or transparent, else people would be able to see through him and take away his manliness or his manhood or his strength and all of that. Another thing is that a man should not he should ensure that he always tries to impress the people to in their respect and validation. So he should somehow be a people pleaser, want to impress people to in their respect, or sometimes be mean, you know, to earn people's respect and also be validated as a man. Then there is also, or his father, right? I've seen situations where guys are usually people pleasers when it has to do with their father or sometimes their mother. But I think it's easy for women, mothers, to validate their sons. So it's usually guys becoming people pleasers to be in their father's good books. So yes, society has also defined that one like that. Um, a man should be, be able to earn the respect of his father. Another thing is that when for you to be a man, when you're a man, for you to maintain your manliness, right? You have to win only all the time and every time. And anytime you fail, anytime you lose, it then means that you're becoming weak. You're losing your manliness. Then another one is that a man, to be a man, you know, you should never have fears, or even when you have fears, you can never show them. You should never show them, else it is weakness. Another thing that you know pointed out in the spoken word or in the poem, I don't know what it is, but it said that a real man has been defined as someone that should never be seen or caught crying, else it would bring shame, to be shameful and to be a sign of weakness. And then another thing is that a real man in the society's eyes should not be vulnerable, because vulnerability is the quickest way to lose your credibility as a man. And the only way to earn your credibility is to be tough and manly and to keep the macho on. And you cannot try to be vulnerable, if not, you lose your credibility as a man. Another thing is that men, what society has defined a man to be, is that you have to keep to yourself. You have to let people not know the real you. You have to be mysterious. You have to let them not see you, you know, for who you are. Just keep some parts of yourself, in check. Keep on your hero clothes and don't let anyone strip you of it. You're a man, you're strong, you're mature, you are, all of those things. So be that, or always wear that garment of manliness. Then another thing is that society has encouraged men and defined a real man to be someone that should never ask for help, or else it will look like he's weak. Another thing is that he should not ever beg a woman, else he would be labeled as a simp. Another thing is that he should always be in control and never allow people to see the real him, right? Like the vulnerability of even saying I love you, sometimes you should also hold that back and keep it in check, so that he will not be referred to as a weak man. So these are all the things that society has defined a real man to be, and I call them myths of a real man. And this is where we're going to stop in today's episode. I just want to think about yourself. Do you have this thoughts? Do you have this mindset? Do you have this belief system about man? Do you think that these things are true? Whatever I've mentioned so far, about who a real man should be, if any of them stood out for you, just let me know in the comments, so that it can be, something up for our conversation next episode. So yeah, just check yourself. Are you this kind of man, or do you believe that a real man is this kind of man? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And with this, we've come to the end of today's, this week's episode of the Young and Sane podcast. I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments. If there's anything that you want us to talk about in the Young and Sane podcast, just let me know in the comments too. And if you want to give a shout out to anyone, help, let me know in the comments too. Please drop your reviews and we'll need them on Spotify and also on YouTube in the comment section. Alright, so it help us with rating on Spotify specifically. So yeah, I hope to see you guys in next podcast episode of the Young and Sane podcast. I remain your host, Tamarflourish, and I love you guys. See you next time. Bye bye.